Dr. Campbell, on obtaining order from the government, used his influence to induce every foreign tribe and the people to come and settle in the country to great detriment of the Lepchas. The Gorkhas, whom the British had such a trouble in expelling from the territory, were particularly encouraged. Mainwaring further adds that the Lepchas, finding difficult to cope with the new culture and social life of the foreigners, fled from place to place. Their cultivation of crops degraded. Consequently, want and misery ensued. Taxes were imposed on Lepchas. The Lepchas found very strange with the system, who had never seen money, never knew what it was until Europeans arrived in their place. J.B. Mainwaring writes, their happy and peaceful homes which were most hospitably and disinterestedly thrown upon to all comers, were lost to them forever. Broken-hearted, many of the elders died. Hence, one can easily infer from the facts mentioned by J.B. Mainwaring that the masters of the land were reduced to sleep. He further records that the Lepchas, to obtain food, were forced to perform work which their spirit required. They were reduced to become bearers of the burdens, to take to working on the roads. He writes, they were in manners and customs and in true civilization immeasurably superior to any of the surrounding tribes, to the Gorkhas or to the natives of the plains. The Lepchas, the free sons of the forest, the hardy yeomen of the land, the lords of the soil, became the servants of servants, the very slaves of slaves. This was the impact of the new social system on Lepchas. The Lepchas were free-born children. They had their own kings, had their indigenous lifestyle, food habits and dress code. Unfortunately, they were forced to accept the new system against their will. This aspect of history has not been written by any historians except Colonel J.B. Mainwaring. Impact on language. J.B. Mainwaring writes in his preface and introductory remarks on a grammar of wrong Lepcha language as other causes were also tending to the destruction of the Lepcha nationality. The Lepcha language, which had hitherto been the language of the whole country of Sikkim, which all Tibetans, Bhotias or others who entered the country acquired and spoke, in which, under the rule of Colonel Lloyd, business was carried on and justice in the English courts were administered, in the character of which decrees and documents were written and recorded. This language was completely set aside and Hindustani was made the chief language of Darjeeling. Thus, the use of Lepcha language was neglected. Language bears the identity of any race. The recognition of Lepcha language by the British reduced the Lepchas to minority. The nationality of Lepchas was endangered subsequently. It is to be noted that the Bengal government recognized Nepali as official language in the 3 subdivision of Darjeeling district in 1972, and in the beginning of 90s this language was recognized in the 8th schedule of Indian Constitution. Ironically, languages other than Lepchas are taught in the school in the district, but Lepcha, which was originally official language of the region, is not taught in the schools. It is in this context Colonel J.B. Mainwaring has proved himself as the messiah for the protection and preservation of Lepcha language, who, with his sheer effort, wrote a grammar of Lepcha language in 1876 and a Lepcha dictionary published posthumously. In the democratic country system, the voice of the majority is heard and decisions are made in their favor, and while in the words of doing so, minority voices are suppressed. There is no voice of minority like Lepchas in the majority system. However, a person like J.B. Mainwaring has undoubtedly protected the Lepcha language. Conclusion. The political history as discussed above is an important one as far as the present political events are concerned. Among the foreign writers, Colonel G.B. Mainwaring stands tall in the hearts of Lepchas. Because of his valuable contribution in the political history of Darjeeling and Sikkim, the Lepchas have succeeded in maintaining their identity in the region. Many political events have taken place in this region, but for the work of J.B. Mainwaring on Lepchas, Lepchas could live on heads high and with dignity. Due to the facts of geographical boundary of Lepcha kingdom and list of their kings, J.B. Mainwaring has proved further that the Lepchas have never migrated to this region. They are the sole owner of the land and hence the sons of the soil. J.B. Mainwaring has also posed challenges to all the modern political historians to dig out more truth regarding the land and people of Sikkim and Darjeeling, that is, Mainland. His motto remains lie in Sri Rampur, Kolkata, unnoticed, but he remains alive ever in the hearts of the Lepchas. Amidst all odds, he has done justice to the indigenous people by contributing facts on political history of Lepcha race. If there is one quote that captures the character of Colonel J.B. Mainwaring, it is the letter written by Argentinian Marxist revolutionary Che Guevara before leaving on the journey that finally killed him. Above all, always remain capable of feeling deeply whatever injustice is committed against anyone in any part of the world. That is the finest quality of a revolutionary actually.
Ren Dennis Ronke, Lepcha. Ren, thank you very much indeed. I'm touched with your presentation, especially you, without fear, you spoke the truth, and I'm happy, I'm glad now the young Lepcha scholars are coming out with the real story, history, things in the Darjeeling Hills. Thank you. Now may I request Dr. B.C. Chaudhary for his comment, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ren Dennis Lepcha, for your nice presentation of the brief history of political history of Lepchas. In fact, to speak very frankly, I am an anthropologist, of course. I have worked on Noctes, Tangsas, Singphos, Tutsas, and Wanchus of Arunachal Pradesh on anthropological work. And in the latter phase, I have concentrated myself on linguistic study, and I have done some work on Bengali language, Oriya language of course, and Ladakhi language. Anyway, this paper is he has presented very nicely and given the brief description of Lepcha's Lepcha history. One thing, I know very little about Lepchas because this is my first appearance in Lepcha world today. So far I remember I have read in Chunak Akhen, the Lepcha, ancient Lepcha history, where there is a mention of a war between Chandragupta Maurya and Greeks. And the name of the Greek leader was named as Alexander, and the war was in Takshila, and where Pohartu Panu, the Lepcha king, he has helped Chandragupta Maurya in that war. And now, if we consider Watu Panu is a legendary Lepcha king. In that case, we are forced to believe that Lepchas were here at least 4th century BC, as per this record. Now, in that case, the people, some scholars, those who are telling that Lepcha has come from outside, that doesn't hold good. What I think, because this is another, it is supported by their indigenous culture and traditional belief, particularly with Kanchenjunga, Titsa, and some other peaks, mountain peaks that attach emotional or traditional belief. That reflects in the fact that Lepchas are the autochthons of this locality, of this region. This political division may be now in different way, and which has changed time to time. And with these few words, I thank Mr. Dennis Lepcha. This is a nice paper.
Dr. Saab, thank you very much indeed. So we go back to 4th century BC. Now may I request Suldong Rongkap Lepcha for his comments. Probably some of you may not know, he's the Assistant Education Officer, HRD, Government of Sikkim, and he is a Lepcha linguist also. So, may I?
Thank you very much, sir. So, I have no comment on the presentation of Dennis. I put up my hat for us. Very, very energized writes up on this occasion of Mainwaring's 188th anniversary. So I wish him his best wishes, and also one thing I'm not clear in the first passage that he has spoken on the chronicle, this Lepcha kings from Tarve to Tikomansalam. There is a confusion, sir, if you don't mind. You have said a 13th century blood brotherhood between Lepchas and then this Tikongtik, and again you have mixed up with this Mansalong. But centuries gap between this Tikongtik and Mansalong is quite, I think, longer. Tikongtik 13th century and Mansalong 16th. I'm a little bit confused. I have not did your presentation here. Even though I'm happy, sir, I have no comment. I wish you all the best, sir.
Then Dennis Rongkap, adong agyab proximo, katpa ho rong segem kakat atom kat tengli tung song sa arum menimbu Rongkap kat get tun. Along now, I'm really delighted to welcome Renew Vidya Joshi from Nehu, Shillong. May I request you to come up to the stage, please, and take your seat. And at the same time, I'm really happy, delighted, thrilled to welcome Ren Salon Kathak Rongkap. Has come from all the way from Kalimpong to attend this seminar. Thank you, Ren. Okay, next in line, of course, is Ren Saibal Sengupta. He also hails from St. Robert's Higher Secondary School, Darjeeling, and probably most of you know or not, but I like to say that he is doing a research work on Kadenmuli, the traditional lecture house. And today this traditional lecture house has become very, very important because it is simply earthquake traditional lecture house. So may I request Ren to present his paper. Ren Saibal Sengupta.
Ren Langsong Tamsang, President, Indigenous Lepcha Tribal Association. Padma Shri Sonam Chering Lepcha, Padma Shri Hildamit Lepcha, honorable members of the panel, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Before I read out my paper, I would like to be very modest. I am not much of a linguist, neither a historian. I am basically into ecology. And the reason why I was interested in Lepcha culture, the different aspects of the Lepcha community, was because I happen to be a bird watcher by hobby. And as I was searching for different birds, learning about their names, their habits, habitats, their ecology, I came across something which put me in a lot of awe. I discovered that among the several Indian languages we have, Lepcha language is the only language which has names for every species of bird found in the Indian subcontinent. And it doesn't end over there. It is not just birds. I was even more surprised when I saw specific names for insects, plants, flowers, orchids. And if you go through all of Dr. Salim Ali's books on birds of the Indian subcontinent, you will find that apart from Bengali, Telugu, Tamil, most of the South Indian languages and a few languages from the western coast and the eastern coast, the only language which he mentions, which he gives a reference to from our part of the world, is Lepcha. My paper is very, very brief, very, very short. I wouldn't even call it a paper. It's more of a reflection. As Ren Langsong Tamsang in his inaugural speech, he also reflected on the personality of General G.B. Mainwaring, what kind of a person he was. He was in a lot of appreciation. We all together expressed our appreciation for such a man who could live like a Lepcha himself. So I'll just read my brief paper, and I would request you to please reflect with me what kind of a person he was. My paper is titled General George B. Mainwaring, a pioneer in Lepcha research. The Lepcha language has been the subject of much discussion since General George Mainwaring first studied the language and published a book on grammar of the Lepcha language in 1876. In his preface, Mainwaring wrote the following wonderful comment about the Lepchas. He writes, "Of the language, I cannot speak too highly. The simple and primitive state in which the Lepchas lived is admirably shown by it. It has no primary words beyond the words for gold and silver to express money, merchants or merchandise, fairs or markets. Their gentle and peaceful character is evinced by their numerous terms of tenderness and compassion, and by the fact that not one word of abuse exists in this language. It admits of a flow and power of speech which is wonderful, and which renders it capable of giving expression to the highest degree of eloquence. The language also attests the astonishing knowledge possessed by the Lepchas. It is impossible that a people with a language so comprehensive, with a manner though primitive, so superior, as to entitle them to rank among civilized nations could be engendered amidst the wilds and fastness of the Himalayas. This has been quoted by the preface in the grammar of the wrong Lepcha language as it exists in the Darjeeling and Sikkim hills, published in Calcutta. And I would say this is a very precise and appropriate comment that is a result of a detailed observation, deep understanding, and meticulous interpretation by a scholar par excellence. Such an observation can come only from someone like Mainwaring, who had an extraordinary power of perception and comprehension. But most importantly, it was the innate quality of this man who could adapt and live with the Lepchas, as a Lepcha himself. Mainwaring's grammar book not only serves its linguistic purpose, but to a larger extent, it provides a historical record of the Lepcha people of that period, particularly because very few records are available with regard to the Lepcha people of that time, and more so as the language itself was richly evolved in character, having a distinct flavor of its own, and yet it was not widely used and known in circles outside the Lepcha domain. Among the languages of the Sino-Tibetan family, Lepcha is remarkable for three reasons. First, it is one of the few to have an indigenous writing system, dating from the 17th century. Its modest literary corpus, mostly consisting of translations from Tibetan. Second, it is isolated within the family, forming an independent subgroup with no known close relatives. And third, it has played an important role in historical Sino-Tibetan linguistics, being one of the most commonly cited languages in Bodmin. The late A.R. Fonning, in his classic Lepcha, My Vanishing Tribe, published in 1987, writes, about the same time as the missionaries, an individual was engaged in work for the Lepcha language and literature all on his own. He was Colonel G.B. Mainwaring of the Bengal Staff Corps. In contrast to the Christian missionaries and the Buddhist lamas, he was not prompted by any ulterior motive. Truly, Mainwaring's contribution to the Lepcha language cannot be undermined. His pioneering works in the form of the Lepcha grammar, published in 1876, and later Dictionary of the Lepcha language, published in 1898, are invaluable tools for researchers in any aspect, speaks volumes about the love for his work and for the tribe. It is a remarkable thing that Mainwaring, in spite of being posted as an army officer of the Bengal Staff Corps, stationed at Lebong Cantonment, Darjeeling, and having his own military responsibilities to attend to, found the inspiration and patience to compile two extremely important books. The very fact that he spent much time with the lecturers, observing them, interacting with them, and meticulously recording detailed information speaks volumes about the love for his work and for the tribe. According to A.R. Fonning, Mainwaring was so drawn to the Lepcha people that he even married a Lepcha woman, hoping to learn everything about the tribe. This relationship, it seems, worked very well, as two of the most significant books on the Lepchas, that is Mainwaring's grammar and dictionary, came into being. Gorer, in his Himalayan village, writes, after profound thought, General Mainwaring came to the conclusion that not only were the Lepchas the descendants of our first parents, but that, as could be simply shown by a device of the generals, so-called the power of letters, Lepcha was a language spoken in the Garden of Eden. Such a grand status to a language could be conferred only by someone who had complete appreciation and love for the people whose language he spoke and with whom he worked and lived. Mainwaring's contribution to the Lepcha language was a labor of his love. His total commitment and sense of belonging with the Lepcha people is something that is difficult to achieve. He immersed himself in his passion to the extent that some described him as the Lepcha man. It is true that people who are totally immersed into what they love most have often been called mad. But it is also true that out of this madness comes out great works such as the pioneering books of Mainwaring. Verrier Elwin, one of the greatest scholars and champions of India's tribal people, was criticized by his European friends for giving up his life as a missionary in order to live with the tribals of Orissa. He even went to the extent of marrying a tribal girl. In much the same way, Mainwaring too must have had to face many difficulties and adversities. But very often, the people who criticize such great persons do so out of sheer ignorance and for the simple reason that these great people swim against the tide, which makes them different from those who follow the crowd. The significance of G.B. Mainwaring and his contribution to research in the field of Lepcha language and culture is exemplified by the number of people who have used his works as a reference point. Several famous works on the Lepcha people, such as Buvoya Stocks's Folklore and Customs of the Lepchas of Sikkim, published in 1985, Borar's Himalayan Village, 1938, research papers of Richard Keith Spriggs, published in many journals and bulletins, K.P. Tamsang's The Unknown and Untold Reality About the Lepchas, 1983, and Rongring Trim, A Grammar of the Lepcha Language, 1978, A.R. Fawning's Lepcha, My Vanishing Tribe, 1987, Helen Plazier's Grammar of Lepcha, 2007, and several of Ren Liangsong Tamsang's work, including Rongring Learn Lepcha, published in 2012, have used Mainwaring's works as a standard reference. Diverse aspects of Lepcha people and culture have been studied by scholars from the points of view of several disciplines. And it would not be an exaggeration to say that they too have found Mainwaring's works extremely useful. His works have been quoted in the fields of Lepcha orthography, Richard Keith Sprigg, ethno-linguistics, Satrupa Datta Majumdar, anthropology, Veena Bhasin, social theory, Dr. D.C. Roy, political movements, Alina Pradhan, environmental behavior and conservation, Padam Nepal, socio-political transition, Ren Dennis Lepcha, philosophy of religion, Father Peter Lingdamu. This is an attempt to name only a tiny fraction of the much larger body of work that has been done in the past, and it can be assured that many more researchers will certainly be grateful to Mainwaring in the future too. Mainwaring has been honored with the title Thikum by the Lepchas, who see in him a man who can be looked up to, an elderly figure who must have guided those who were around him and will continue to guide and inspire us with his pioneering works. The Lepcha people and those who share a common love and interest in the different aspects of Lepcha life will always remember General G.B. Mainwaring as the Thikum in the truest sense of the word. Thank you.
Ren Saibal Sengupta. Ren, thank you very much indeed for your inspiring presentation. And thank you also for mentioning the present status of the Lepcha language in this hill region. Of course, Sikkim is very, very fortunate that the Lepcha boys and girls, they have the opportunity to study Lepcha language from primary to college level. Now I'm told that is being introduced in the postgraduate syllabus also. I like to congratulate the Lepchas of Sikkim, but unfortunately in this, the other side of River Tista, the same Lepchas in the Darjeeling district, West Bengal, we have been deprived of our right to education in Lepcha. But we are not disheartened We are trying to stand on our 2 feet. We have opened round about, if I include the one we inaugurated this morning, we have 50 Lepcha night schools where the 4 skills of the Lepcha language, listening, speaking, reading and writing, and including Lepcha culture, singing, dancing, everything are taught, and our children are learning fast. And I am very optimistic whether the government of West Bengal gives us the right to education in Lepcha in West Bengal. It doesn't matter, but we will stand now on 2 feet and we'll do it, we'll accomplish it, and we'll be proud, very proud, original indigenous Lepchas in this part of the hills. Thank you very much, Ren. Now, may I request Ren Suldong Rongkap to say for his comment.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Sikwal sir. You being a Gupta family, writing about language is really what to say. It's very great work, I mean to say. But here about the language family, you have noted Sino-Tibetan. But in the analysis of the Department of Name, Northeast Hill University, Guwahati, we have analyzed this Lepcha language in Tibetan. So you, sometime if you get chance to go to that area, you please contact. I think Ms. Bidya is there. Bidya is there. He is a scholar, linguistic scholar. We have analyzed Lepcha language in Tibetan department in the University Department in Name. And sir has noted Sino-Tibetan. So this is a certain point from my side. You please do it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Now may I request Dr. B.C. Chaudhary.
Thank you, Mr. Swegal Sarigupta, for your nice presentation. Actually, this here I have already confessed my weakness. I do not know much about Lepcha culture because this is today my first appearance. So I have nothing to say much about that. But one thing is what I feel. We are blaming government. Of course, government is responsible for encouraging the students to learn Lepcha in their own mother tongue. But one thing I want to say is Lepcha young girls, brothers and sisters, they should also come up with that. So they should do something which is most creative, by which they can reach to the world, not only in West Bengal, even outside the West Bengal, they should reach. So that type of mentality they should achieve and they should move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sir. Very kind for your advice and suggestion. He's asking, ayudom kaisarong nabling pling song ingay bong songdum ayu na tugosa amoring choming choyu dungit ungten tundoka ayudo na re dongko thamri na re agyap yok zuka chimori na ka renna isuma thongo ayudo tugosa thonga jinka chimo. Now, without much delay, may I request Ren Kanchu Lepcha. He is the assistant professor, Sikkim Government College, Gyalsing, and yes, Ren Kanchu Lepcha.
Respected Ren National Kamsam, Padma Shri S.T. Tamsam, Padma Shri Renu Eldami Dongmit, and all the dignitary scholars, researchers, and all the guests together here. And so today we are celebrating the 188th birth anniversary of Nikung Jivim Mainwaring. Besides, we are honored to him Besides, we should have to remember the Monday Newcomb, who guided him to prepare the lecture grammar by G.B. Mainwaring. Without the help of the Monday Newcomb, Shaman or Moon, her help, the G.B. Mainwaring may prepare the lecture grammar. Thank you and ask you.
Then Kancho Ronka, Toksiatimo, thank you very much indeed. Of course, he spoke about the oral literature of the Lepchas through Manan Bonghing. No, most of you today listened to and heard a Bonghing praying and invoking the Ibu Ram, King Chunzongbu, Chubi Churum, Anaka Nongaka Bisalam Zilungbong. He was invoking deities and including Tikung General G.B. Mainwaring for the well-being of all the Lepchas, all the people of the world, and that is oral literature. And probably you heard Renu Prem Kit Rongmit, the prayer book singer. She was standing here composing the song and singing at the same time on a specific topic, subject, and that is oral literature. That is only 2 examples I'm referring here, but we have unaccountable many types of oral literature you'll find. We are very rich in oral literature, and it is time the young people like Renkancho, Ronka and others, youths must come out, dig out and bring the reality, the truth about the oral literature in the open, in the lecture world. Thank you very much. May I request Dr. Prasad for your comment?
This oral literature in many tribal society, even in the other societies also it is there. But our need is to preserve, collect those literature and preserve it. That's why young generation should come up and they should preserve it, collect it and preserve it, so that in future this can be the basis for our next things. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. Now may I request then Suldong Ronka.
Last of it. So I have no comment on his presentation because he himself is a Bonghing. But he has not mentioned this thing here that Bonghings have their cosmic power to communicate with the supernatural things. He has not mentioned. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, may I thank Dr. Chaudhary and then Suldong Lepcha. Thank you. And now we change our panelists. May I request Dr. Tapan Kumar Das, Kolkata, and Renu Vidya Joshi Nehu, Shillong, to take their chair here, please. Arisa Tukunka, next is you will be hearing a young man presenting an Apriyabum again. In Apriyabum we have different forms, different styles, different types of expressions, and I hope you like Ren Suksing Kongchen Ronka Lepcha, and I hope you like his Apriyabum. Now, may I request Ren Peter Lingdamu to present his paper. I'm afraid we are running, our time is running out. Probably it will take another, probably this is the rate we will finish to present his paper. I'm afraid we are running, our time is running out. Probably it will take another, probably this is the rate we will finish by 8 o'clock in the evening, right? So therefore may I request to, give your presentation, which is short also, and it applies to all the presenters now. Thank you. Then Peter Lingdamu Rongkap Lepcha is, of course, most of you know him, is the principal, St. Robert's Higher Secondary School, Darjeeling, and I think you'll be happy to know that he's doing a research work, he's doing his, I think, PhD, is it? PhD in the old ancient lecture religion, Man Bongtingism. Thank you, Ren. Please proceed.
And Bisamundawadi and President, Indigenous Lepcha Tribal Association, Ren Lamsong Tamsang, Padma Shri Ren Esther Tamsang, Padma Shri Renew Hildami Tamsang, respected panelists and my colleague paper presenters, Krisa Apinre, Tukung General J.B. Mainwaring, Xiu Pitong, Xiu Ditong Mugun, Krisa not come Dung Sordo, Ksa Nagre, Tukung Mainwaring, Xiu Liam Kasam. Ore plonka, aretu sa kamdan ka thoshin ko doke bangi. This is a chiguri, an epitome of motivation. Aretu sa kamdan ka, aretu chigo thoshin ko alam nahan mangda. An epitome of motivation, Hikung General J.B. Mainwaring undoubtedly stands tall in the Lepcha literary world. Immense contribution made in building up the Lepcha language, which points out that he commands over our homage unto himself, our hearts off to him. I am greatly touched by the love he had towards the unknown language as far as the learned man Hikung General Mainwaring is concerned. Born and brought up and educated in the highly literary world, as great leader said, sun will not go down in the land of Great Britain, had a tremendous sympathy towards this Lepcha language, which itself was unknown to the known world. It is said, if the language survives, the race survives. Thus, the language is an important identity of the race. It is conspicuous that the hardship Hikung General J.B. Mainwaring went through in the process of learning language and finding its shortcomings and trying to give the shape of a language. The intricate usage of the language exposes the depth of the language. To unearth all these intrigues of the language needs a tremendous patience and love towards the language, which has been extremely exhibited by the Hikung General J.B. Mainwaring. Language is an instrument of expressing one's feelings of joy and sorrows and of loss and the success. It could be of different types, but the end objective of the language